Hey, yo, welcome back. What up? This is not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. This one's gonna be a long one today. Just preparing you right up front, and I'll kind of outline what we're gonna go through today. But over the past couple of days, I've gotten my hands on the paperwork of these Jay-Z allegations. We talked about it on Sunday as soon as the news broke. Got on camera, read to y'all what I knew, and so I got my hands on the actual lawsuit, and also got my hands on Jay Z's the obviously the statement that we all saw, but the actual court documents, the motion, filed the motion to prevent the accuser from proceeding as a Jane Doe, from proceeding anonymously. So I just got a bunch of court papers that I've been reading through the past couple of days trying to understand it, because I think, I mean, look, we all have opinions, and facts are important. Like facts are important, especially in my position. But I urge all of you to look for the facts and look for trusted sources that to get information on matters like this, and don't have to be me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's plenty out there, real newsrooms too, and incredible. So you just got to look where you trust the information, or seek out the information yourself. But I'm just gonna go through it. I'm just gonna talk about the order of events real quickly up top and recap for those who kind of don't know, right? So this is gonna be like the very short version of this. Earlier this year, through attorney Tony Busby and his firm, the Jane Doe in this case filed a lawsuit against Diddy alleging rape. That took place in the year 2000 when she was just 13 years old, obviously a minor. Very, very heinous act, heinous allegation, and we know everything that Diddy's going through right now. In the original suit, a celebrity A was named, and it was a male who also participated in the act alongside Diddy, in the alleged act alongside Diddy. And a female celebrity B was also named, who watched this alleged act. So there was a lawsuit. Diddy is the only one named. Celeb A, who's a male, Celeb B, who's a female. Sometime after that suit was filed, a demand letter was sent to Jay-Z's attorney requesting a confidential mediation. And confidential mediation are Busby's words that I actually pulled from his Twitter. So requesting a confidential mediation. Jay apparently did not take part in this mediation and sued Busby on November 18th, 2024. And it appears that he sued him anonymously. Why'd he do that? Well, his name isn't in it. If he sues him publicly, now you get all these type of headlines and stuff, and what you're trying to do. I mean, these headlines are damaging, so what you're trying to do is protect yourself against these headlines coming out. On December 8th, an amended complaint was filed. So an amendment to the original lawsuit was filed by Busby and his client Jane Doe, alleging that celebrity A, on the night in question, who took part of the alleged act with Puff, was Jay-Z. So now on December 8th, there's a new filing. This one actually has Sean Carter, Jay-Z's name in it. Goes public on NBC News. Internet goes on fire. Now it's out there. The headlines are out there. Jay then issued the statement that we all read, vowing to fight against Busby, and it was that really strongly worded, passionate statement that, to me at least, seemed to come directly from Jay. It didn't feel like lawyer speak. It didn't feel like PR speak. And so Jay issued that statement shortly after. It was about an hour after the story broke. So they knew this was coming, right? Or they had a feeling that this was going to happen. The dominoes were going to fall like this. On December 9th, the very next day, Jay's legal team filed a motion for the courts to deny the plaintiff's request to proceed anonymously. Their filing also cited other incidents, other cases where the courts denied a plaintiff to sue anonymously. And to be clear, these filings, On December 9th, Jay's team is like outright vehemently denying the accusations, straight up denying the accusations. I saw some people in the comments and just across social media questioning whether Jay's statement was a flat out denial. I read the paperwork. He is flat out denying he is being accused of. So after Jay's team, so they filed a motion to the court saying, hey, the Jane Doe shouldn't be allowed to proceed anonymously, and here's all these other cases that support our claim and want the court to rule in their favor. After Jay's team filed the motion on December 9th, they said they received an unsolicited call and email, so an unsolicited reach out from an individual who says that she previously reached out to the Busby law firm with allegations of trafficking and abuse, but not related to Diddy. She just had her own situation and reached out to Busby, not related to Diddy. The woman said she made it clear that she had no connection to Diddy, but they continued to ask her about Diddy anyway, and she was encouraged by the firm to pursue her claims anonymously. And when she said that she would like to go to law enforcement, they told her it wasn't encouraged. So they're saying, hey, pursue this civilly, do it, make this a lawsuit. Don't go to for the criminal, complaint. Make this a lawsuit, make this a civil suit, and do it anonymously. The law firm allegedly tried to get her to change certain details of her abuse, but when she refused to change her story, they dropped her as a client. So then she went to Jay's firm and just said, hey, this lawyer that you guys are fighting against, I've had an experience with them. So on December 10th, Jay's team wrote a letter to the judge and asked them to consider this new information in connection with their motion to deny the plaintiff from proceeding anonymously. So what's going on here is that Jay and his legal team are denying that this ever happened. And they're going after the credibility and a couple of things. But one of the things is they're going after the credibility of the lawyer, Tony Busby, and his law firm, and not, as of yet, even really going at the alleged victim, as, she's anonymous anyway. So, they're calling this blackmail, extortion. And on one hand, they're trying to prove or show that Busby has a history of this type of practice. So they're denying this ever happened. They're attacking Busby's credibility. And what they're saying is, hey, if we do have to take this to trial, we're requesting that the alleged victim not be allowed to proceed anonymously. And again, they cite other court cases where the court denied attempts for alleged victims to proceed anonymously. I imagine there's a criteria for this, and Jay's team is arguing this case doesn't fit the criteria for her to proceed anonymously. To me, this is Jay saying, hey, I didn't do this, and I'm willing to fight this in court, not behind closed doors or in a confidential mediation session, right? My name is already out there. Jay's name is already out there. It's out there. It's done. There's a certain amount of damage that's done by just having that headline out there, even if you're innocent. But what he's saying is, hey, if I'm to fight this, I'm just asking the court to allow me to know and the public to know who the accuser is, make them reveal themselves so I can prepare also a proper defense. I'm well known. I'm in the limelight. There's a lot of information about me, but now we have to prepare this defense against somebody that we don't know, and revealing the identity of the accuser could then help us gather witnesses. And okay, so now we know who the accuser is. Okay, did you see her on that night? Did you drive her on that night? Was this the girl? Was that the girl? It just allows them to prepare proper defense. And furthermore, what they're saying is the one party involved that we do know, who's Tony Busby, has a credibility issue and a history of shady dealings. This is what they're alleging. So to me, that's like the short of it, right? The synthesized version. I'll go through it a bit, just breeze through it, put some of it on the screen. But, the amended Busby, the lawsuit, the amended one, the one that names Jay, it starts off sections 1 through 7, paint the picture of Puff as has nothing to do with Jay in the beginning. Paints the pictures of, because remember, Jay wasn't even named in the beginning. But the amended lawsuit, sections 1 through 7, just paints the picture of Puff as the successful mogul and how he used his money and his power and his companies that he owned to commit various crimes, including sex trafficking, forced labor, bribery, prostitution, kidnapping, a lot of the things that he's been charged with, right? Section 8 claims that Diddy used the drug GHB, putting it in alcohol and in body lotion. I guess that's the baby oil thing that made all the headlines, so that it's absorbed through the skin. And then, the GHB was used to drug victims to make it easier to have sex with them. Nothing about it so far in the beginning of this is about the specific night in question. It's all like trying to paint a picture of Puff and the alleged behavior, relying heavily on the charges he's facing now and the other lawsuits against him, right? Section 9 introduced the notion that Puff abused children. Section 10 retells the Cassie assault in the hotel and how Puff allegedly bribed the hotel staff in exchange for their silence. Sections 11 through 18 detail all of the different cases brought up against Puff, right? There's a lot of civil suits. Section 19 details the federal charges that were brought up against him in September that now have him currently locked up. Section 21 introduces this Jane Doe that we're talking about, the plaintiff in this case, and says her allegations mirrors Puff's past behavior. So basically, in the very beginning of the suit, they paint the picture of Diddy that they want to paint to support their case, and now they're introducing Jane Doe and saying, "Hey, Puff has a history." They're saying Puff has a history of this past behavior, and this falls right in line with it. So Section 21 says, plaintiff's allegations herein substantially mirror Combs' prior conducts as established through criminal indictments and other lawsuits. Through this case, plaintiff seeks a full measure of justice from a man who thought his power, money, and influence rendered him untouchable. Plaintiff joins many other victims by filing this complaint in hopes their common voice makes it impossible for Combs to insult another person ever again. Section 22 is the first mention of Jay, and here what they're trying to do is paint the relationship of Jay and Puff as close friends. So defendant Carter is like Combs, a wildly successful rapper and businessman. Carter and Combs have a long history together. Carter met and began collaborating musically with Combs in the 1990s. Combs and Carter rose together to the very top of the hip hop industry in terms of fame and influence by the end of that decade. So nothing that we don't know. Section 24 introduces the actual night in question now. In 2000, near the height of their fame, power, and influence, Combs and Carter attended the 2000 Video Music Awards in New York City. Afterwards, Combs hosted an after party for many of the most famous celebrities in the music and entertainment industries, including Carter, which is where the events alleged in this complaint occurred. The filing goes on to define the different parties involved. They define the Jane Doe without revealing her name, of course. The accuser, she resides in Alabama. We don't know if that's where she's from, but she resides in Alabama currently. Puff, who resides in MDC in Brooklyn. That's not a joke. It says that in the thing, that is his actual residence right now. And then it lists a bunch of Puff's companies, because Puff's company is also named in this suit, and then Sean Carter. And again, important to say, this is an amended complaint. The original complaint did not name Jay-Z. Again, he was Celebrity A. So Section 32 says defendant Sean Carter is a male who, on information and belief, maintains residence in both New York and Los Angeles. Defendant Carter is more commonly known by his industry name of Jay-Z. Carter was identified in plaintiff's original complaint as Celebrity A. Prior to this filing of this amended complaint, Carter received a letter from plaintiff's counsel requesting a mediation to resolve this matter. Upon present information and belief, Jay-Z responded to said letter by not only filing an utterly frivolous lawsuit, but by also orchestrating a conspiracy of harassment, bullying, intimidation against plaintiff's lawyers, their families, employees, and former associates in attempts to silence plaintiff from naming Jay-Z herein. This effort was meant to scare plaintiff and to discredit her counsel. That effort failed. Indeed, plaintiff chose to file this amendment as a result of the egregious conduct perpetuated by Carter. So just in legalese telling us what I just told you. Originally, Jay-Z wasn't named. They wanted the mediation. Jay didn't do the mediation. He filed a lawsuit instead, and now they revealed his name. But you got to ask yourself, right? And here I'm going to get into a bit of opinion. But what was the purpose of this mediation? What did the plaintiff hope to mediate? What did they hope to resolve? It's unclear. Busby is saying we never asked for money. Jay saying it's an extortion plot. But if the reason for all this is justice, and this isn't a criminal suit, but it's a lawsuit, it is the end game financial restitution. Like, what do you hope to solve by sitting together? It's like a simple apology, and then and then he walks away, and his name never gets revealed. But again, even that costs. If Jay is saying, "Hey, I didn't do this," then I'm not going to sit here and mediate with you either, and give you a false apology just to make this go away. I don't know. This is just me guessing. This is me theorizing, right? Ultimately, what I'm getting at is, what I'm trying to figure out is what comes out of that mediation. What's the end game of that mediation? It seems to me financial restitution. They were looking for some type of settlement. Hey, settle this quietly and it can go away. I want to be clear. Like, sometimes in some cases, a lawsuit is a legitimate way to seek justice, right? Not everything goes through criminal. So I just don't want to belittle anybody who has legitimate claims and goes the lawsuit route. But this wasn't a criminal case. This was a lawsuit case. So what were you trying to seek? What was the end game? What was the justice? The justice to me seems like it was financial restitution. It was money. And then why not include Jay's name in the first place? His name was withheld, right? Unless you want him to settle out of court, it's almost like using his name is like a bargaining tool. It's like a carrot stick. Like, hey, we're saying you're celebrity A. If you don't want your name in this, pay us and we won't put your name in it. But if Jay truly did something wrong, and again, there's just me theorizing, then why not put his name in it in the first place along with Puff? Issue is that Puff was outed already. Everybody knew Puff. Puff had other types of headlines, so it's nothing to say Puff's name. Puff has had so much negative press. I mean, Puff is in a terrible position right now. What's one more? But for Jay, whose name hasn't come up in any of this, like, they're thinking, hey, maybe it's worth something for him to just not even have his name involved in it, whether it's true or not. Again, this is just me theorizing. This is my opinion. I think things like this are damaging because you want to believe victims in this case, and there are legitimate. Again, there are legitimate reasons why victims are Jane Doe or John Doe. There's situations where civil cases are a legitimate way to receive justice in situations where criminal cases may not be an option. My feeling, this is my, again, opinion, and this is part of me telling you, hey, I'm going to read you the facts and I'm going to tell you my opinion. Your opinion could be different. My opinion is, this just don't seem right. My opinion is telling me that there's something else going on here, that this isn't about justice for an alleged rape that happened to a minor. You know what I'm saying? So it says here in section 38 that it says also that Jay filed the lawsuit. We know that. I told you that it's described as frivolous. On 38, in section 38, it starts to describe the night. I don't know if I want to read all of this because, again, it's not in the grand scheme of things like super graphic, but it could be triggering, man. It's hard to read. But I'll start off on and around September 7, 2000, plaintiff, then 13 years old, had a friend drive and drop her off near Radio City Music Hall in New York City so she could try to attend the Video Music Awards. Attending the VMAs was on the plaintiff's bucket list, and she believed she can gain entry. Plaintiff arrived at the venue and saw large crowds gathering as artists and entertainers began arriving. Plaintiff was very excited. As the event began, much of the crowd moved inside, but plaintiff without a ticket remained outside with others and watched the VMAs on the Jumbotron. Determined to get into the VMAs or after party, she approached several limousine drivers parked nearby and attempted to talk her way into either. Just certain things, right? Like that you'll have to prove. Like, is there a Jumbotron? There isn't a Jumbotron outside of Radio City Music Hall where fans can watch the VMAs from the outside. Radio City doesn't have a Jumbotron outside like Madison Square Garden does, like MSG does. It's possible, and it's likely that MTV set up a feed outside and set up a screen on their own that allow people from the outside to watch what was going on inside. But I don't know Radio City to have a Jumbotron set up. But this is something where someone who used to work at MTV can answer. This is something that you could probably easily prove. Was there a Jumbotron outside? of the venue, and there likely could have been, but there's just not an existing one, is what I'm saying. It says one of the limousine drivers she spoke to claimed to work for defendant Combs. The driver told her that Combs liked younger girls and she fit what Diddy was looking for. While not allowing her into the awards, the driver invited her to an after party. The driver stated he had to drive Combs and others to the after party first, but instructed plaintiff to return to his location after the event and then pick her up and take her to the after party later that evening. Plaintiff excitedly returned to the same location and waited for what seemed like a long time. The driver eventually returned and drove her to what he described as the after party. After approximately 20 minutes, plaintiff arrived at what she believed to be a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway. Again, where once inside, two men asked to sign the document, which plaintiff did not read, but which now she believes to be a non-disclosure agreement. She was told that she could not discuss what happened at the party. She gave the men her name and signed the form, but did not receive a copy. Identifying who that driver was seems to be important here, right? Being able to figure out the address of where this residence was, where this party took place, seems to be important. It also says, okay, inside the building, plaintiff recognized many celebrities as she entered what appeared to be a large living room or a foyer containing a large crowd. Plaintiff attempted to mingle in the crowd and talked to several celebrities that she recognized whom she had wanted to see at the VMAs. Okay, what celebrities were there? Like these are potential witnesses. I think all these details become important, you know what I mean? In really figuring out what was going on here. And I think this is why, or I feel like this is why they're asking that this is not to remain anonymous, so they can start sourcing witnesses, and also the VMAs is a very public event. There's pictures, there's after parties, who went where, there's page 6, there's reporters, there's some documentation and about what went on at the awards. There's definitely documentation about what went on at the awards, and then documentation at what happened in New York City nightlife after the awards. So you could start placing people at certain things. What celebrities were here, and then it's like, oh, so that celebrity wasn't here. They were at this after party or that after party, and or maybe they were but it at least gives the defense a chance to kind of really, really figure out how they want to defend themselves. She goes on to say that she was mingling. She was given a drink by a waitress and felt woozy after, suggesting that there was a possible drug in the drink, but also she was a minor. A drink could just make you woozy. She had a drink, felt woozy after, had to lay down, found an empty bedroom to lay down. She didn't lock the door. She claimed that Jay and Puff entered the room with the unnamed third female celebrity, and Puff assaulted the victim, and him and Jay took turns assaulting the victim forcibly. Who's the unknown female celebrity? In the original suit, it was Celeb A and Celeb B. Jay was Celeb A. He's the only one that denied the mediation. Sorry. So did Celeb B, the female celebrity, did they get that same mediation request? Did they settle? What other celebrities have settled outside of court to try to keep this out the headlines, if there were any? It's hard to read. It's tough to talk about. I'm sure it's hard to read for anyone who's a victim, who's been through a sexual assault. It's probably triggering. But I just don't know how you prove this. So we know after this, okay, Jay issues a statement. We all read the statement, and then filed a motion. The headline on this is defendant Sean Carter's motion to deny plaintiff's request to proceed anonymously pursuant to Fed R Civ P10. That's just the case, or to dismiss the complainant pursuant to. So they're saying, hey, either deny the plaintiff's request to proceed anonymously or throw the case out. But it seems like they're ready to fight it. I'll read some of this. This is Jay's motion. For months, the extortionate campaign has been targeting this named defendant under cover of darkness. That campaign was cynical and calculated to force payment of an exorbitant sum of money. Defendant would have to pay X millions of dollars, irrespective of the truth or else. So that goes back to the confidential mediation. What was the request? Was there a request for money? But they're saying here, defendant would have to pay X million of dollars, irrespective of the truth or else. When defendant refused to pay and instead took measures to establish his innocence, this unnamed plaintiff and her self-promoting counsel went to extraordinary lengths to shut down fair defense. But those efforts too failed. Now at last, the false, unfounded allegations that underlie this campaign of extortion are having the judicial light shine on them, except that this plaintiff is bringing them as a doe who would continue to hide under the cover of darkness. Because that tactic is inconsistent with a genuine effort to determine the truth or felicity of these allegations, as opposed to an effort to procure a quick, extortionate settlement. Defendant is respectively seeking either dismissal of the allegations or disclosure of the plaintiff's identity. So, that they're saying, basically having an anonymous plaintiff is more in line with an extortionate plot rather than a fair trial to figure out the truth or the fallacies of this. So, yeah, they're asking, hey, I either dismiss this or disclose the plaintiff's identity. These claims are not about justice for victims, nor are they about giving victims of sexual violence a voice. Instead, they are merely the next chapter in attorney Busby's sprawling extortion saga whose aim is based and measured in dollars. Busby has devoted himself to the business of extracting large settlements from celebrities, high net worth individuals, and businesses with any public ties to Sean Combs, following his indictment for sex crimes in September 2024. References to justice or sunlight. Sunlight was a word that Busby used in one of his tweets. References to justice or sunlight serve only as window dressing. Make no mistake, this case is about retaliating against a rare target who would not pay. So they're saying Jay wouldn't pay, and so they revealed his name. Attorney Busby has had a history of targeting celebrities by making false allegations of misconduct. Mr. Carter sought to expose Attorney Busby's latest extortion scheme in the California lawsuit on November 18, 2024. After receiving a demand letter from Attorney Busby. All right. So yeah, it goes on. I'll kind of spare, but again, it says real quick, just for people who was like, well, are they denying this? It says, in this case, he will vigorously defend himself and expose the truth. He is Mr. Carter. It says, well, okay, one way or another, Mr. Carter is entitled and positioned to exonerate himself through the legal process. So one way or another, whether you throw it out or if you want to proceed, Mr. Carter is entitled and positioned to exonerate himself through the legal process. I think we can all agree there. In this case, he will vigorously defend himself and expose the truth that the allegations in this complaint are false. Flat out denial for those who thought it was otherwise. But disclosure of the plaintiff's identity is among the most essential basic tools that can and should enable Mr. Carter to vindicate himself. Mr. Carter should not have to defend himself in the brightest of spotlights against an accuser who hides in complete darkness while leveling allegations that describe the purported acts occurring in the plain sight of witnesses who could refute the plaintiff's claims if only her identity was revealed. So, again, too, the paperwork goes on. Jay's filing cites other similar circumstances where anonymity that would be kicking my ass has been struck down by the court. And then I'll just read the conclusion and we'll start to wrap it up. But it says, in conclusion, Mr. Carter would request this court revisit its provisional order permitting the plaintiff to proceed anonymously and require the plaintiff to refile her complaint with her true name. To the extent she fails to do so, Mr. Carter will request that the court then dismiss the complaint for failing to satisfy Fed RC Civ P 10A and for therefore failing to establish subject matter jurisdiction pursuant to Rule 12B1. So, they're citing, just legalese like, hey, they're however this was filed doesn't really match up with how the law goes. Yeah, man. So I think what Jay is saying here, and again, what you all agree is, hey, let me just have my fair day in court. If you want to pursue this, let me have my fair day in court. And he's denying it. So I'm assuming he's saying, I will prove my innocence. That's what they're saying. We will prove his innocence. But you know, you gotta let it be fair, so we could fight fairly and not have to fight against someone who we don't know. And but most of this is very much attacking the credibility of the lawyer right now. But you know, I assume that's all that they have to go on. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I guess what happens next is what the court decision is, and that'll probably be the next update, because that'll determine whether this proceeds or if it gets dropped, or if you know, the Jane Doe will have to then reveal herself. And you know, it'll be something that we follow closely. It, you know, it's tough. It's a lot of information, but I just wanted to give y'all what I knew, what I learned, and you know, from somebody who actually like read the documents. And again, I implore y'all to find the truth, to look for credible sources, to look for credible voices, to read this stuff yourself if you can get your hands on it, and not just kind of believe the headlines or the hearsay, either which way. You know, in this video, I read you from both complaints and just, you know, both sides paperwork, and just really just giving you what I truly think. I think, you know, I don't see truth here, but you know, it'll be interesting the way it plays out. So that's it. Till the next time. All right, peace.